is, you can check it out. From that moment, for the next 4.5 years, I was never off the singles chart on Billboard, Cashbox, and all the industry magazines. I mean, it just happened to me. It fell on me so much so that I had the strong feeling that God was doing this. I knew that, I could sing and I enjoyed it, but a lot of people could do that. And yet I was having, and of course met Elvis in that time, and he and I matched each other in the 50s, record for record. And in the 50s, from 55 through 59, I had 41 chart records, and he had 40.
Wow.
But I had a 6-month head start on him when we met
Most
in,
people don't know that. Look what I have.
oh, look there.
This
Yeah.
is falling apart in my hands. It is so
Oh,
old, but
that's
it
that's the way Elvis looked when I met him. He
and
was my
here you are.
yeah. Yep, there I am right there singing and Bill Haley in the comments,
That's
rock around
right.
the clock. Yeah.
And you three were on the top of the charts at the same time.
Yep. Look at you. Hey. Of
How
course, I've
cool
had
is
many
that?
of those magazines, but I don't remember seeing this particular one, especially. I think Elvis is wearing white bucks too. I know he did. The last picture you opened to just then, I think he was wearing scuffed up white shoes. I tried to keep my white shoes really neat with a little bag of powder that you sprinkled on and to make them keep them white. But he didn't care about scuffing his up. When we first met, though, at that sock hop in Cleveland, he only had one record, and it was on Sun Records. And the A side of it was a bluegrass song, Blue Monroe, Bill Monroe bluegrass song, Blue Moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. And he tried to make it sound like it was rhythm and blues, which it was not. And then the other side, the kids didn't know who he was at that sock hop. He was just introduced as a new guy that was going to be making records on RCA Victor. He hadn't made anything for them yet. And when he sang that song, I could see looking through the curtain that the kids would say, "Oh, he's cute, look," and he was. He wasn't wiggling around the stage. He was strumming his guitar. They were pantomiming the record. That's the way you had to do it at a sock hop. And so when he finished, he said, "Thank you very much. I'd like to do the other side of that record for you. Hope you like it." And it was, "That's all right, Mama. That's all right with me. Any way you please." That was rhythm and blues, and the kids loved that. And so did I. I was backstage. And then when I was introduced and came on, I had 3 million sellers at that point. This was October of 55. My first record was March of 55. By October of that first year, I had 3 million selling hits when Elvis and I met in that sock hop. And when I came off, he had gone, and we didn't see each other for about 2 or 3 years when we were both renting homes in Bel Air and making movies at the same time at 20th Century Fox. And and yet we remained friends. We were two Tennessee boys. I was from Nashville, him from Memphis, and we both knew how fortunate we were. And we kept in touch, and I watched his success on the charts. He watched mine, and we never appeared together after that first time. I'm sorry about that. I wish we'd had some opportunities to perform together. But he was performing differently on stage than I was. I usually just stood at the mic and sang my songs. Maybe I'd snap my fingers or pat my white butt feet, but he was moving all over the stage.
Yes, it
By
was.
the time he was singing his RCA hound dog songs. Anyway, I'm
Yes.
talking. I'm not
Yeah.
giving you
So
no
now,
credit.
did you? No, keep talking, keep talking. Did you stay in touch with him through the years? Did you speak with him shortly before his death or anything like that? Because
Yes,
I know his brothers, his half brothers were talking to him about the Lord. I think maybe shortly before he passed, they had gone
yes.
to a prayer meeting. They got saved. So yeah, so
So did I. See, here's way back. We didn't get together much. We communicated. There were times in the first year or two when Shirley and I were renting a home in Bel Air with a swimming pool. And even after we moved into the home that we now still have lived in for 60 something years, Elvis on a Sunday afternoon would pop over unannounced and just and walk right in to the backyard where we'd be in the pool, and the girls would jump up. They didn't know he was a big star. They didn't know anything about that. They just knew he was a friend, and he seemed to like to hug on them and love them. And they'd jump up, and I'd say, "Girls, stop that! You're getting him all wet. Leave him alone, man. I like it." And he did, because he was there wanting what I had, a wife and kids, which that was forbidden to him right then, because Colonel Parker wouldn't even let it be publicized who he was dating, much less getting serious about or marrying. That was out of the picture, out of the question.
Yeah.
But there was a time after he was appearing at the International Hotel and just knocking them, just breaking all kind of records. And I went to see him, and he was in the penthouse there. That was his dressing room, was the penthouse of the hotel. And other people, he says, "Can we go in the closet?" He went in the closet, the two of us. He says, "I wish I could go to church like you do." And I said, "You can, why not?" He said, "Because I would be a distraction. The kids be wanting my autograph, and it would distract from the preacher." And no, I said, "Don't you think it happens to me if I go to a church where I'm not a member?" I mean, I had fans too, of course. Why don't you just say, "Hey, wait, kids, wait till after the service. I'm here for the same reason you are. I want to just worship the Lord." And they'll let you. And then afterwards, sign their bulletins. They'll take them to school the next day. "Where'd
Right.
you get, what's Elvis or Pat Boone at your church? Can we come?"
Look at
And
that.
and make it an evangelical outreach, And he sort of grinned. He said, "No, I just can't do it." "Do you know Oral Roberts?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." He said, "I'd like to talk to him sometime." I said, "Let me give you a clue. Your name is Elvis Presley. You call Tulsa, Oklahoma, be connected to Oral Roberts University. Whoever answers, probably a female voice. 'Well, this is Elvis Presley. I'd like to talk to President Roberts." And he'll be on in 15 seconds. So, but he couldn't do it. Socially, those little things, socially, he was not comfortable doing. So I did. I called Oral Roberts. He flew out. He spent an afternoon with Elvis. Told me later, I prayed with him. He's spiritually starved. And I just, encouraged him to keep praying and open his Bible and read it. But it was Elvis looking for spiritual support. But the guys around him, many of them were involved in Eastern religions, anything that called it religious or supernatural or spiritual. They were all intrigued in all those things. So Elvis never became a churchgoer. And that's a sad thing. He would, after some of his concerts, I mean, two of those exhausting concerts, he would keep the gospel quartet, whether it was the Stamps, the Oak Ridge Boys, or the Jordanaires. He would keep them till 3 in the morning, having Tony Brown play the piano, the producer and pianist, and sing all the gospel songs with the gospel quartets. It was his way of trying to recapture what he had known as a boy growing up and worshiping in church. And he didn't think he could have it anymore. He was a prisoner of his own fame, self-imposed,
Yeah.
because he could have done it, and they would have let him do it. Sure, they'd have watched him and looked at him all the time, maybe looked at him more than they did the preacher, but they'd all been there for the same thing and worshiping, in the same way.
Yeah.
He was starved, and at the very last, of course, in that movie, it shows him, as I heard and saw him do in one of his very last concerts, closing with "How Great Thou Art." And he sang it beautifully. It's a rangy song to sing, and he sang it great. And it was literally coming from his inner core as he sang that song. So I'm hoping that he's going to be there,
Yeah.
meet me, along with my wife, Shirley, when
Yeah.
I get there.
Yeah.
We do 2 shows a night for 5 weeks. A lot of times we'll go upstairs and sing until daylight. Gospel songs. We grew up with it from the time I can remember, like 2 years old. It more or less puts your mind at ease. It does mine.
Lead me, guide me along the way. Lord, if you lead me, I can stay. Or just open mine eyes that I may see. Lead me, oh Lord, won't you lead me? I am tired and I need thy strength and power to guide me over my darkest hour. Or just open mine eyes that I may see. Lead me, oh Lord, won't you lead me? Lead me, oh Lord, won't you lead me? Well, you rock my soul down in the woods, rock, rock down in the woods. My baby, have me rock my soul down in the woods. My baby, have me rock, rock, oh yeah, rock, oh Lordy, Lord, oh rock my soul, why don't you rock my soul? Well, you rock my soul down in the woods. My baby, have me rock, rock, rock down in the woods. My baby, have me rock my soul down in the woods. My baby, have me rock, rock, oh Lordy, Lordy, oh rock my soul, why don't you rock my soul? Oh, that's all I could do.
That's enough. That's enough, Diddy. Just take a collection and go get some coffee.